Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. Well, it's been a little while since I've done one of these videos, a little over a week or so. This semester is insanely busy. My reading load is just crazy this semester. I think some of you who follow me on social media may have seen a couple of weeks ago where I posted a picture of the stack of books that was only a portion of the books that I had to order for this semester. They've all come in now, all 22 of the required texts that I'm using in my classes this semester have come in. That, in addition to the articles that I have to read, as well as additional books that I'm having to purchase for projects within these classes that go beyond the actual text for the class. So my reading load is just crazy this semester. Thankfully, the writing load, not so much. Otherwise, I would be in deep trouble. And I'm teaching two sections of rhetoric, of course, so I've got a lot of grading to do. And I'm president of the Graduate Student Association, and we're planning our graduate student conference, which comes up on February the 20th, and I've been busy with that. So, needless to say, my life has been a little packed the last few weeks. And so it was difficult. I didn't get anything done last week as far as Anxiety Diaries is concerned, but I wanted to be sure and get with you today. Couple of things before I get into what I actually want to talk to you about today. Number one, so after my last video, I had someone very sweet, concerned friend on social media message me privately and tell me that she was concerned about my little mole up here on the side of my face. She said she was really worried about that. It didn't look good, and she thought that I had to go have it checked out. Well, so let me put your fears to rest. This mole that I have right here on my face has been there for over 20 years now. You may not have noticed it in the past. Usually, when I post a picture of myself, I Photoshop it out of the picture, so a lot of times it goes unnoticed there. But also, it looks a lot darker on these videos than it actually is. So it's not quite as dark as it looks like. It's also not quite as big as it appears to be on the videos. So, but as soon as I can comfortably go to a dermatologist and have it looked at, I'm going to do that. Mostly because I want to get it removed. I'm tired of looking at it, but not to worry. It's been there for over 20 years. It looks a lot worse on the video than it actually is. So we're all good there. Second thing I want to talk to you about, tomorrow morning I'm going to have my first round of the COVID vaccine. Now, this is a really sticky subject with me because I'm friends with a lot of you guys on Facebook who are very anti this vaccine for various reasons. Some of them political, some of them, medical, some of them ethical, some of them you're just a plain old anti-vaxxer. You don't believe in vaccines and don't think anybody should get a vaccine. Listen, whatever your choice is about the vaccine, that's your choice, and I'm not going to criticize you. But I do want to say one thing about this. I'm going to get the vaccine because I think it's absolutely necessary. At my age and with the health conditions that I have, number one, I have high blood pressure. And number two, I'm, as we've talked about on social media, I am clinically obese. And those are high risk factors if you get COVID, uh, which means that for the better part of the last year, we're going on 11 months now, I've pretty much stayed at home. I can't tell you when the last time I was actually in a building was. I think I went in, gosh, I think I went in CVS about a month ago to pick up one thing, and I went early in the morning when nobody was there. But other than that, I can't think of when the last time was. I don't go to restaurants. The last time I went inside a restaurant was March 11th of last year. So I've been pretty much sticking at home because I am at high risk. If I get COVID, I'm more likely to experience complications than other people are. I'm very happy that this vaccine exists. I'm very happy that they've gotten it out. Yes, I know that there are people who have had reactions to it, but that is true of any vaccine. It's true of any medication. All medications, all vaccines come with the risk of side effects that happen to people. I'm taking it tomorrow morning. I'm taking it happily. I'm taking it in with great energy and excitement because I'm ready to be able to get out at least a little bit more and do things that I've not been able to do for a year. Because for a person like me who suffers with anxiety and depression, isolation is a really, really bad thing. So I'm taking the vaccine happily in the morning, and then I will go for my second appointment 21 or 28 days later for my second part of the vaccine, and then I will be very pleased because I will be able to, with a mask and observing physical distancing still to some extent, I'll be able to go and do more things that I'm just not comfortable doing right now. So listen, no matter how you feel about the vaccine, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Okay? I'm going to ask you to do me a favor on social media. Stop posting these links to these conspiracy theory websites that talk about the vaccine and how bad it is and all these things it's going to do, because most of the time they're bullshit. I mean, excuse my language, but most of these websites that you guys are posting links to are complete bullshit websites. These are people who don't know anything about immunology. They don't know anything about vaccines. They look at numbers on a piece of paper and they extrapolate conclusions out of that are they're not reliable conclusions, right? We say all the time, I tell my students that association does not equal causation. Just because something happens at the same time that something else happens doesn't mean that that thing caused it to happen. Okay? So before you post any links on social media to these anti-vax, conspiracy theory bullshit websites, just stop. Just stop. Because nobody's reading them anyway. The only thing people look at is the headline. Nobody actually clicks on it and reads it. So just stop. Keep your anti-vax to yourself. Keep it in private messages. If you're really that concerned about somebody going and getting it, send them a private message. But keep it off of social media. All right, now what I wanted to say to you, and this kind of goes along with what I'm talking about. And my message to you today is really important to me because I know some people who are really struggling with this right now. And that is, don't let your fear control you. Don't let your fear about what's going to happen control the choices that you make for your life from day to day. All of life, regardless of what it is, comes with some associated risk to it. There is risk in getting out of bed in the morning. There's risk that I could get out of bed in the morning, walk into the bathroom, slip and fall, crack my head open on the floor, bleed out before anybody could get to me. But when I wake up in the morning, I get up and I go to the bathroom because I need to and I have to. There's risk associated with all of life, no matter what we do. There's some risk associated with it. But the thing about risk that we always have to remember, and I'm preaching to myself here too about this, because I am risk avoidant. I try to avoid as much risk as possible. But what that has meant for me over the course of my life is that I haven't done many things that I've wanted to do and that I still want to do because I constantly weigh the risk versus the benefit of it. You know, so years ago there was that movie called Along Came Polly, had Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston in it. Kind of a funny movie actually. But Ben Stiller plays a risk analyst for an insurance company, and he spends all day, every single day, plugging data into this software program that I think he created, if I remember right. He plugs data in about this insurance company's clients, plugs that data into this software all day long, and it analyzes their risk. and whether or not that person is a good risk for that insurance company. We can't live our life like that. We can't live our lives by daily plugging in data into the software of our brain and analyzing whether or not that's a too big of a risk to take. Yeah, there are some risks that are too big to take, but they need to be really, really big. Because most of the time, the things that we want out of life, the things that we want to be successful and content and happy with our lives, and to feel like our lives have purpose and our meaning, have some sort of risk attached to them that we're going to have to overcome our fear of in order to achieve that purpose, in order to achieve that contentment, in order to achieve that happiness. Don't let your fear control you. Don't let your fear make it so that you avoid any risk. Because if you do, you're going to wind up like me, a 50-year-old man who's done very little in his life that he actually wants to do because of my fear. Because of my fear that something out there, that nebulous something word, will happen bad. And so I've let my fear control my life. I've avoided these risks all my life. And there are so many things that I want to do that I've never done. And now I'm 50 years old and I'm finally starting to take hold of that fear and understand that some fear is reasonable. But if it's a fear that causes you to not do things in your life that you want to do, that's not a reasonable fear. That's not a healthy fear. It's not a good way to live your life. So yes, understand that some risk exists and think about it and make a decision whether or not that risk is just simply too high. But if it's just kind of a risk that, well, if I go on this trip this summer to Boston to this conference, maybe I'll spend too much money and then I'll have to struggle in August before I start getting paid in September again. And that's not a good risk to avoid, because the benefit of that trip may benefit, and in case you don't know, I'm talking about myself here. The benefit of that trip to Boston may be far greater than the short-term risk. Don't let fear talk you out of doing something that's going to make your life better, that's going to make you happier, that's going to make you more content, that's going to make you more successful or profitable or prosperous. Sorry. Don't let fear talk you out of those things. The first 47 years of my life, I let fear talk me out of most of the things that I wanted to do. And in the last 3, I finally started to grab hold of that and try to make some changes. And it's hard. And those changes have not been easy, and they have not all come the way that I've wanted them to, but I'm working on it. And you need to work on it too, but don't even get started. Don't let fear control your life, because it will always cause you to make choices that don't lead to your contentment and that don't lead to your happiness or your success. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope that you are well, safe, healthy, and happy, and living unafraid. That's what we need to do. Take care, guys. We'll see you again really soon. Bye-bye.